So I thought I'd bring up a tiny little inconsequential topic that we could have a little fun about. AI.
Oh gosh.
So I want to talk about AI's role in this kind of return to business as usual and playing it safe. Because while marketers obviously need to stay up to date with tech, that is one of my responsibilities here at the ANA, is to take a look at every shiny object that comes through, look at every headline, and at least consider it. It's very, very important. I want to ask if there's an inherent reputational risk to going all in on AI in 2026, because while we are seeing, and AI is a very broad general sense, most of the conversations are around generative AI and as that goes to agentic and beyond. But we're seeing a lot of scrutiny, and not only from consumers, but like internally from employees. So where is thinking in marketing leadership as it pertains to AI and reputation?
Big question.
Big question.
Big question.
Big question.
Get ready for a big answer.
Yeah, I'm ready.
So AI is interesting because on the one hand, it represents another form of cover for executives, for leaders to kind of move away from these more value-based communications. I say that because Gravity Research has this incredible tool that's AI assisted, where we scrape the Fortune 100's corporate engagements on a weekly basis just to facilitate our benchmarking, right?
Yeah.
What are leaders within the different businesses, the different industries that we follow, what are they saying on roughly a dozen issues within, their own spaces, their earned spaces, social media, et cetera. Our analysis of that shows, of course, within the last year or so, AI statements just skyrocketing. So we're seeing corporations move away from values-based communications into AI. So it's providing a bit of a cover for their communications, but at the same time, AI is one of the biggest reputational risks that we're advising our own clients on, who are communicators, CCOs at Fortune 1000 companies. It all comes down to stakeholders, and that's how we try to think of these different issues. So I'll start with the first, which is investors. We do quarterly analyses of earnings calls within the Fortune 100, and our latest one for Q4 showed that about 1 in 5 investor questions about AI related to ROI, right?
Yeah.
What's the efficiency?
Sense. Yeah.
What's the productivity? A very investor-y question.
Yeah. Well, and the promise that it
Yes.
came with.
These became increasingly more common as the quarters went on in 2025. If 2025 was the year of experimentation for AI, 2026 is the year of implementation. All right, you did the work. Now let's actually put it to work.
Yeah.
So investors are asking questions about productivity, et cetera. We also have this incredible panel at Gravity Research where we ask our panel of roughly 200 executives, VP and above, at Fortune 1000 companies, mostly within the communications and public affairs space, a variety of questions about how their life is, what's keeping them up at night.
How you doing, buddy?
How you doing? And one of the questions that we asked them around AI is, do you feel as though your principal, your CEO, can accurately tell the story of AI for your company? And less than a third said yes.
Oof.
So think about that gap. You have investors, asking CEOs, executives on calls, what is your AI story? How are you making things more productive? And you have a confidence gap in terms of CEOs feeling as though their CEO can speak about it and whether they can prepare their executive to speak on it. So that's kind of the first bucket of stakeholders, investors. The second is employees, which you mentioned.
Yeah.
There's tons of public polling out there showing that, more than half of employees are worried that AI is going to take their job, right? That's just the reality of the world that we're living in right now. If we think back to the investors, all right, so the best way to show efficiency, productivity, and use AI is to reduce headcount, right?
Yeah.
Of course, that fear comes from somewhere.
Yes.
And we've seen a rather historic amount of layoffs within the last 4 or 5 years, somewhat so within the last year, right? We did an analysis on all of the media coverage of major layoffs within the last 6 months or so. And even when there wasn't a link to the layoffs being related to AI, media made that for that
Yes.
company.
I'm so glad you brought that up
Mhm.
because, oh, well, actually does not matter.
Exactly. And it's tricky right now as a communicator because right now there isn't much you can do to get ahead of that narrative. That narrative is being written for you because AI within corporations is just such a nascent thing, right?
Mhm.
It's people are trying to figure out what it is and trying to implement it. So that's another group of stakeholders to worry about. The third is the political sphere. This is one of those issues where there's actually a lot of agreement
Yeah.
between Democrats and Republicans. In so many ways, we love to see it. We love to
Yes.
see agreements.
It's refreshing.
We love-
I'll take it from anywhere, honestly.
Yes, and what that means is, unfortunately, the things that Democrats and Republicans are the most concerned about with AI, they're looking at workforce displacement
Mm-hmm.
and they're looking at corporate power.
Mm-hmm.
With the midterms coming up, with there being a lot of rhetoric and coverage on the campaign trail, there's an increased risk for folks on that trail pointing to corporations for being essentially the bad guy when it comes to implementing AI and having it impact their workforce.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much, and I feel for CEOs, CCOs, CM, like the C-suite across the board, because even if you want to be the most responsible executive in the United States of America, there is this narrative that if you aren't doing everything to stay at the front of the wave of AI development, that you're an ostrich with your head in the ground.
Yeah.
But you know, the creator and producer of OnScope, Ryan Dinger, and I have this conversation a lot, that the conversation about agentic AI and how can we put it in charge and go home and call it a day. It's like, can we go back to Gen AI and maybe get that to where it's consistently, reliably providing real value for members and cutting costs? We're not even at the cost cutting true ROI of Gen AI yet.
It's true.
And we seem to be like 7 chapters along in the book past that. So it's an incredible balancing act. What are you seeing, or are you seeing kind of trends within that third of where the CEOs like, no, I actually know this? Are there certain kind of themes, characteristics, or things about like at least AI realistic, if not AI ready or optimized organization, their communications versus that 2/3?
Yeah. So we always look at things through the lens of reputation, right? At Gravity. The communicators that we see that are doing this the best, and I hate to say this to listeners, viewers, etc., if you don't have an AI strategy and how you're communicating it by now, you're already behind.
Yeah.
So we saw folks, and I hate to say that, but it's true.
But it's true. Tough love is one of the
Yes.
ingredients of a good OnScope episode.
Q3 and Q4 of last year were the time for teams to pull up after roughly a year of experimentation of how are we going to embed AI within our systems to be like, all right, what is our AI story? Not just talking points that your executive or principal can say, but how are we communicating this outwardly? How are we communicating this inwardly? The folks that we talk to that feel good about their AI strategy within their company have buy-in from employees. They're training folks up to be AI natives, if you will. They're investing in the workforce that they have, even if that means in the future there is some sort of layoff, whether that's related to AI or not.